A new driving law has been officially passed this morning, and within the next 30 days, thousands of American drivers will receive citations in the mail for violations they didn't even know they committed. Starting today, a single driving habit you've repeated for years could cost you over $1,500 before you even realize you broke the law. Here's the part that's making this go viral right now. These aren't just new laws, they're new enforcement systems, and they don't give warnings, they don't accept excuses, and they don't care how long you've been driving safely. According to traffic enforcement data released this month, over 70% of citations under the new 2026 rules are coming from everyday habits, not reckless driving. Things like glancing at your phone at a red light, rolling through a stop sign on a quiet street, or passing a broken-down car without changing lanes. Starting today, they are expensive violations, and most drivers have no idea. Across the country, states have quietly activated camera networks, AI-powered speed monitoring, and insurance-linked databases that are already watching, already recording, and already generating citations that will arrive in your mailbox days from now. One moment you're driving the way you always have. The next, you're staring at a fine that hits harder than a car payment, wondering what you did wrong. I'm going to walk you through exactly what changed, which habits are now costing drivers hundreds of dollars, and what you can do today to protect yourself. But first, I need to tell you about a man named Robert, because what happened to him 3 weeks ago is already happening to thousands of drivers who have no idea it's coming. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which mistakes to avoid and which small changes can save you from joining them. Robert is 58 years old, a sales manager from Ohio, married, clean driving record for over 3 decades. Last month, Robert drove through a construction zone the same way he has for 15 years. No workers visible that day, no cones in his lane. He was doing maybe 7 miles over the posted limit, just keeping pace with traffic. 3 weeks later, a citation arrived in his mailbox for $285. No warning, no officer, no conversation. An automated camera system recorded his plate, measured his speed, and forwarded the violation directly to his insurance company before he even knew it happened. His premium increased before he opened the envelope. I'm going to come back to Robert later because what happened next made his situation significantly worse. But his story illustrates exactly why 2026 is different from every year before it. Here's the reality. The shift happening right now isn't about new laws being written. It's about new enforcement being deployed. Cameras, algorithms, radar systems, and insurance-linked databases are now doing the watching. Police officers used to be the primary mechanism for traffic enforcement. They had discretion. They could issue warnings. They could consider context. That buffer is disappearing. Automated systems don't care about your clean record. They don't care that you've driven safely for 40 years. They capture the violation, generate the citation, and in many cases, report it directly to your insurance provider before you even know you've been caught. And for drivers who cross state lines, the situation becomes even more complicated. What's perfectly legal where you live may trigger a citation the moment you enter another state. Speed limits, phone laws, alcohol thresholds, even rules about lane usage vary dramatically. Relying on what's always been true in your home state is no longer safe when enforcement is automated and penalties are immediate. That's why so many drivers in early 2026 are saying the same thing. I didn't even know that was illegal. And that's exactly why this information matters right now, before the ticket arrives, before the insurance premium jumps, before a simple morning commute turns into a financial headache. Let's start with the enforcement change catching more drivers than any other right now. It doesn't involve speeding, it doesn't involve alcohol, and it doesn't require an accident. In fact, many drivers don't even realize they've done anything wrong until the citation arrives days later. Distracted driving laws have existed for years. But how they're enforced changed dramatically in 2026. For a long time, many states followed what was called secondary enforcement. That meant an officer couldn't pull you over just for holding your phone. They needed another reason first, maybe a broken taillight or rolling through a stop sign. That extra layer of protection gave drivers a false sense of security. As of today, that protection is gone in more than a dozen additional states. Under primary enforcement, if an officer sees a phone in your hand, or even sees the glow of a screen reflected on your face at night, that alone is now enough to justify a traffic stop. No speeding, no swerving, no warning. And in several states, the definition of what counts as phone use has expanded dramatically. It's no longer just texting while driving, holding your phone to check directions, scrolling through a playlist while stopped at a red light, tapping the screen to dismiss a notification while traffic is paused. All of that now qualifies as distracted driving. This is where I need to tell you about Patricia. She's 63 years old, retired teacher from suburban Phoenix. Patricia considers herself an extremely careful driver, never had an accident, never received a speeding ticket. Last Tuesday, she was stopped at a red light near a shopping center she's driven past hundreds of times. Her phone buzzed with a text from her daughter. Without thinking, she picked it up, glanced at the screen for maybe 2 seconds, and set it back down. The light was still red. Her foot was on the brake. She wasn't moving. What Patricia didn't notice was the patrol car in the lane beside her. The officer saw the phone in her hand. Under the old rules, that might have earned a verbal warning. Under the new enforcement standards, she was pulled over the moment the light turned green. The citation was $340. When Patricia's insurance renewed 2 months later, her premium had increased by 22%. The insurance company classified the citation as high-risk behavior, similar to speeding tickets or at-fault accidents. Over the next 3 years, that single 2-second glance at her phone will cost Patricia over $1,100 in increased premiums alone, plus the original fine. Industry data shows that a single distracted driving citation can raise premiums anywhere from 15 to 30%, and that increase typically sticks for 3 to 5 years. If you're paying $1,500 a year for auto insurance, one moment of distraction can cost you an extra $200 to $450 annually. Add that up, and a quick glance at a notification becomes a $1,500 mistake. Comment hands-free if you've ever glanced at your phone at a red light, thinking it was safe. No judgment. Most of us have done it. But in 2026, that habit has a serious price tag attached. Here's what makes this frustrating for careful drivers. The behavior feels so normal. For decades, stopping at a red light felt like a safe pause. You weren't moving, so you weren't really driving. But the law no longer sees it that way. If you're in the driver's seat with the engine running and your phone is in your hand, you're considered actively operating the vehicle. That single legal interpretation has changed everything. So what's the safe approach? Use a mounted phone holder that keeps your device out of your hands. Set navigation before you start driving. Rely on voice commands. And if you absolutely must use your phone, pull over and park completely. Treat every moment behind the wheel as active driving, even when the car isn't moving. But distracted driving enforcement is only one piece of what's changing. The next shift doesn't involve police officers at all. And once it's in place, there's no discretion, no conversation, and no warning. Remember Robert from earlier? The sales manager who got cited in a construction zone where he didn't see any workers? Here's what happened next. Robert assumed the ticket was a one-time annoyance. He paid the fine, grumbled about it, and moved on. 3 weeks later, driving on a different highway in a different county, he passed through another construction zone. Same situation. Signs posted, no visible workers, traffic flowing normally. He was doing 6 over the limit. Another citation arrived. This time, because it was his second offense within 90 days, the fine jumped to $420, and his insurance company, now seeing a pattern of speed-related violations, flagged his policy for review. Robert's story illustrates exactly how these automated systems create compounding consequences. The first ticket feels like bad luck. The second changes your risk profile. The third can affect your premiums for years. In states like Michigan, California, and Pennsylvania, construction zone cameras are now paired with radar and timing software that measures your speed the moment you enter the zone and tracks it continuously as you pass through. If workers are present, and remember, that definition is extremely narrow, the system records your vehicle, your speed, and your plate. A single worker standing behind a barrier 300 yards from the road is enough to activate the system. There's no officer making a judgment call. The citation arrives later, quietly, often with photographic evidence. School zones present a similar challenge, with even less predictability. Speed cameras in school zones are spreading rapidly across states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, and New York. These cameras turn on 30 minutes before school starts and remain active until 30 minutes after dismissal. During those windows, speed limits drop dramatically, sometimes to 15 or 20 miles per hour. Exceed that limit by as little as 10 miles per hour, and the camera captures your plate automatically. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 71 years old, lives alone outside Cleveland. Every Wednesday, she drives to her daughter's house to help with the grandchildren. Her route passes an elementary school. The speed limit is normally 35. During school hours, it drops to 20. One morning last month, Margaret was running 10 minutes late. She entered the school zone at 8:47, just 3 minutes before the reduced speed window ended. She was doing 32, which would have been perfectly legal at 8:51. But at 8:47, she was 12 over the limit. The camera captured her plate. The citation was $175. Margaret had no idea until the letter arrived 2 weeks later. Courts have consistently ruled that drivers are responsible for knowing when school zones are active. Appeals rarely succeed. The safest approach is to assume school zones are active during typical start and dismissal times, even if you don't see children present. Navigation apps like Google Maps and Waze are increasingly marking these zones. When you hear that alert, check your speed and assume enforcement is active. Now, I want to shift to a rule being enforced with severity that's catching thousands off guard. Emergency lane violations. In states like California, blocking an emergency lane, even for a few seconds in heavy traffic, can trigger fines approaching $1,500. And the enforcement doesn't require intent. Picture this. You're driving home on a Friday afternoon. Traffic is heavy, stop and go. Cars are inching forward, and you're following the rhythm like everyone else. The car ahead moves up. You move up. Then traffic stops. You look in your mirror and realize your bumper is 2 feet into the emergency lane. You didn't mean to block anything. Under the old rules, unremarkable. Under new enforcement, a patrol unit or camera captures your plate, and you receive a citation that can exceed $1,500. Emergency lanes are now classified as life-saving corridors. According to emergency response studies, every 60 seconds of delay can reduce survival chances by up to 10% in critical situations. That's why states shifted from warnings to immediate penalties. Type "clear the lane" in the comments if you didn't realize this could cost $1,500. Subscribe with one click so you don't miss updates when these rules change again. The safest approach is awareness of where your vehicle sits at all times. Leave space. Stop behind the line, not on it. If you feel pressure from drivers behind you, ignore it. Being late is always cheaper than a $1,500 fine. This connects to another major expansion, move-over laws. For years, most drivers associated these with police cars and ambulances. Starting today, the requirement applies to any vehicle displaying hazard lights. Tow trucks, maintenance vehicles, even regular cars stopped with a flat tire. Let me tell you about Daniel. He's 44, commercial real estate agent. Last week, he was on the highway heading to a meeting. Up ahead on the shoulder, a car with hazard lights. No emergency vehicles. Just a sedan, probably someone with engine trouble. Daniel was in the right lane. He checked his mirror, saw cars in the left lane, and maintained his speed. He passed at 65 miles per hour. 2 weeks later, a citation arrived. Under the expanded move-over law, failing to change lanes or significantly slow down when passing any vehicle with hazards is a moving violation. The fine was $280 plus points. Daniel had no idea the rule had changed. The penalties have doubled or tripled in many states because roadside fatalities have reached alarming levels. The expanded law treats a family broken down on the shoulder with the same protection as a police officer. The adjustment is straightforward. The moment you see hazard lights ahead, start checking mirrors and planning a lane change. If changing lanes isn't safe, slow down significantly. That stopped car could be someone you care about. Now let's talk about rolling stops. For years, drivers treated stop signs as suggestions. Slow down, check for traffic, roll through. In 2026, that habit has officially become expensive. Traffic research shows over 40% of serious intersection crashes happen because drivers don't fully stop. Officers are no longer giving warnings. A rolling stop is treated the same as running the sign entirely. Your wheels must come to a complete stop behind the limit line. Pausing less than 1 second doesn't count. And increasingly, citations come from intersection cameras rather than visible patrol cars. I want to introduce you to Thomas and his wife Ellen, both in their early 60s, living in suburban Atlanta. There's a 4-way stop 3 blocks from their house. Thomas has driven through that intersection thousands of times over 22 years. Like most drivers on that street, he's been rolling through it for as long as he can remember. Last month, Thomas rolled through while an unmarked patrol vehicle was stopped at the cross street. The citation was $195 plus 2 points. Thomas was frustrated, but figured it was one-time bad luck. Ellen heard about his ticket and made a decision to change her habits. The next day, she approached that intersection and came to a full, complete stop, counted 1 second, then proceeded. It felt strange after 2 decades of rolling, but she adjusted. A week later, Thomas rolled through the same intersection again. Force of habit. This time, an intersection camera captured it. His second citation within 30 days triggered increased penalties. Same intersection, same habit. Different consequences because he didn't adapt. Thomas and Ellen perfectly illustrate the contrast between drivers who adjust and those who don't. The rules changed. One changed with them, the other didn't. The financial difference over the next year will be substantial. Comment full stop if you've ever rolled through a stop sign without thinking. The difference now is the price tag. Left lane usage is also being enforced with real penalties. The left lane is strictly a passing lane now, not a cruising lane. Traffic studies show vehicles camping in the left lane increase congestion and crash risk. If faster traffic builds behind you and you're not actively passing, you can be cited regardless of how fast you're already going. Karen learned this the hard way. She's 52, works in hospital administration, commutes 45 minutes each way. She typically sets cruise control at 5 over and stays in the left lane to avoid merging traffic. Last month, a car approached quickly behind her. She was doing 70 in a 65 zone, so she didn't move over. The car flashed its lights. She ignored it. Seconds later, she realized it was an unmarked patrol vehicle. The citation was $140 plus points, not for speeding, but for failing to yield the left lane. The practical adjustment is simple. Use the left lane only when passing. Move right immediately after. Think of it as temporary space, not a cruising lane. Pedestrian priority laws have also expanded. You're now required to stop when a pedestrian shows intent to cross, not just when they're already in the road. Stepping off the curb, positioning at the edge, making eye contact, all signal intent. Failing to yield can result in citations starting at several $100s. Imagine this. You're making a right turn on green. A pedestrian stands at the corner, clearly waiting to cross the street you're turning onto. You figure they'll wait because you're already moving. You complete your turn. Under old norms, standard behavior. Under new enforcement, you just failed to yield. If an officer or carer observed it, you're getting cited. The adjustment requires patience and earlier awareness. Slow down approaching any crosswalk. Watch body language, not just feet in the road. Stop fully before the crosswalk line. All of these changes connect to the final and most important shift in 2026. Multiple states have officially moved to a no-warning enforcement policy. First mistake equals ticket. No second chances. No officer discretion. No friendly advice. For years, drivers relied on a buffer. An officer might give a warning. A camera might send a notice without a fine. There was space for mistakes. That space is disappearing. Traffic data showed repeat violations dropped significantly in jurisdictions that eliminated warnings. Lawmakers decided the education period is over. Compliance time has begun. Whether it's a rolling stop, phone use, lane misuse, or pedestrian right-of-way, the citation comes first. Explaining you didn't know won't reduce the penalty. The response you'll get is that the law is published and drivers are expected to know it. So how do you protect yourself in this new environment? First, assume every rule is active at all times. Drive as if every intersection, construction zone, school zone, and lane change is being monitored, because increasingly it is. Second, fix small habits before they become expensive. Do you roll through stop signs, touch your phone at red lights, cruise in the left lane, pass stopped vehicles without slowing? Each habit is now a potential citation waiting to happen. Third, check your state's specific rules. Enforcement varies significantly. What's legal where you live might trigger a citation the moment you cross a border. Fourth, use technology to your advantage. Navigation apps flag school zones, cameras, and construction areas. These alerts remind you to heighten awareness. Fifth, talk to people you care about. If you have parents, children, or friends who drive regularly, share what you've learned. A few minutes of conversation could prevent hundreds in fines. Let me leave you with this. I told you about Thomas, who kept rolling through the stop sign near his house. And I told you about Ellen, who changed her habits after hearing about his ticket. Thomas is now dealing with points on his license and increased premiums. Ellen has a clean record and lower rates. Same roads, same intersections, same enforcement. The difference is that Ellen adapted and Thomas didn't. In 2026, that's the difference between protection and penalty. The biggest takeaway is simple but serious. Small mistakes now carry big consequences. Things drivers have done for years without thinking are now ticketable offenses with financial ripple effects lasting years. The good news is every rule we covered is avoidable. You don't need special equipment or legal training. You just need to adjust habits. A full stop instead of a roll. A mounted phone instead of one in your hand. A lane change when you see hazard lights. A little patience in your crosswalks. These small changes save you hundreds of dollars, protect your driving record, and keep people safe. Think of this video as your early warning, before the ticket arrives, before the premium jumps, before the surprise in the mail. Laws will keep changing. Enforcement will keep tightening. But informed drivers always stay ahead. If this video helped you understand what's changing and why it matters, subscribe now and share it with someone you care about. A parent, a friend, a new driver. One click supports our hard work and could save someone you love from a $1,500 mistake. Comment, "I'm alert," if you're going to drive differently after watching this. Stay alert. Stay informed. Drive like someone is always watching, because in 2026, they probably are.